Hello. Good afternoon and welcome to the May 14, 2024 board meeting of the Escambia Children's Trust. We ask that all cell phones be turned off or placed on silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Members of the public wishing to make comments should complete a public comment form located on the table to the left of the podium and turn it in to Ms. Alma. Ms. Alma, please proceed with roll call.
Judge Harris. Stephanie White.
Here.
Dr. Northup. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Woods.
Present.
David Peden.
Here.
Mr. Leonard.
Here.
Tina Kane. Here. Commissioner May. Just in time.
Commissioner, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Would love to.
Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Thank you. If everyone has had a moment to review the agenda, I do have one request for an amendment. Any other requests? The one request I have is under program, staff would like to add OST year-end measures report. May I get a motion to approve?
I move the agenda with your addition.
Thank you.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes with no objections. Approval of the minutes. Staff recommends the board approve the minutes of the April 9th, 2024 regular board meeting as presented.
So move.
A second.
Any questions?
One correction, it's a small one. It's got call to order at 9 p.m.
Thank you. So with that amendment, do we have a second? Any other
Second, with that change.
second with that change? Any comments, objections? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes pass with the one correction. The treasurer's report, Mr. Peden.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
You'll see in your packet the financial reports, and on the first page on the inside gives us the analysis of where our financial highlights. If you would take a moment and look over those, but while we're doing that, if Ms. Abrams can, there's one thing I want her to explain in terms of what we have on our balance sheet versus what is already committed and allocated, and also the administrative expenses and why that fluctuates based on what programs we're funding throughout the year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Peden. On our balance sheet, it shows that we have roughly $23,861,000 in cash in bank, and we have committed $21,806,844 of that to contracts that we currently have signed. That will pay that for the 3-year balance of all those contracts. Okay. On our administrative expenses, on the statement of revenue expenses, it fluctuates so much from month to month because like for this month, I had to have our reports ready and submitted to Alma for our finance committee before even the deadline for the programs to have filed their reports for March. So most of them were not paid at the time this is done. So it makes our admin expenses for that month look very high when you don't have the program expenses yet for those programs paid. So I broke it down this month so it shows our admin, the tax collector, and the program expenses separated. And when you look at just our admin, less the tax collector, we're running at 12%, tax collector 5%, and then the program expenses are 83%. Our admin will go down as program comes in for the month. At the time these were ran, we'd only paid $26,000 in program expenses for the month, so it'll go up.
All right, well, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. I appreciate you doing that. The Finance Committee met, and we got in some discussions about the moving forward in this month, including for the rest of the year. But we are taking a look at that and monitoring. And as usual, there's no abnormal transactions or unusual expenses that were conducted throughout the month. So if there's any other questions, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on to the business portion, we do have 2 public comment forms. Ms. Green? Oh, it is. Are they both under?
I think they're wanting to speak on the agenda item.
On the navigator. Okay, we will move on. Do we have anybody else with public comment before we move on? Nope. If not, under programs, we have the Executive Director, Ms. Lindsay, to discuss future funding program opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much. So as we have been moving forward from our workshop in March, really looking at how we can support our schools with our nonprofits, we brought 2 models to the program committee meeting to discuss. One was a general community school type of model. We can make it what we want. The other was also a CDC approved model or framework called Whole School, Whole Community, Whole Child. That is in your packet, and I think the best way for me to describe this is to ask you guys to go to page 7, and it's got like a flywheel on it. It's really an easy way to kind of look at this model and how we would wrap around the schools. It's a healthy school model, so we really look at a health focus when we're doing this. But it calls for alignment and integration and collaboration into school settings. So that includes, of course, the physical, the social, emotional, and then our academic achievement of our children. And so with the model, we want to look at bringing together partners in our community that can fill all of these gaps. And I would say not all at once. It's a heavy lift, but looking at focusing on specifically access to healthcare. Was a big part of what we talked about at our program committee. Solid after-school programming that focuses on physical activity as well as academics. Parent support around this and nutrition, as well as other opportunities. And then the school district provides mental health services, so definitely integrating that in or bringing in other partners that can do that deeper in and in the community as well. So those are just some of the main components that we are talking about. As a minimum, it doesn't mean that we can't do more, but for a good starting place, this would be a model that we could take our current funding that we have rolling forward into the future and bring up 2 schools a year for 5 years. We have a list from the school district that had 10 of our schools that are very vulnerable. Some are F schools, some are D, and some are Cs that are toggling back and forth between a C and a D, and then they go to an F and then a D. They're not stabilized in any fashion. So this is the model that our program committee wanted to go forward with. And so before I get into any sort of funding strategy or what we want to talk about, I want to leave this right here because it's a lot of information and ask any questions answer any questions you may have.
You may have, I know you've already told me this, but just for the public, what is the approximate cost for one of these at a school?
So I have researched this nationally. I will tell you, I've only found one school district that actually does this, and it's in Sugar Land, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. I've left messages for the Director of Student Services and the Superintendent. I have not heard back from them yet. But what I have been able to discover just from the information on the website is that they do infuse clinics into their school district. They're an independent school district, so all of their schools are receiving these type of services. It's on their website. You can go on and fill out all the information that you need to get health services, mental health, after school. It's all very integrated. So I don't know if they could break it out per school, but what I will tell you, the model for community schools that we have in our community runs anywhere from about $450,000 to $500,000 per year, depending on what you're looking at and what you have going on, or anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000, I would say. So a good middle meeting ground for that's about $450,000. I think that we do have the capital to actually push that in for 6 schools. With the funding that we have, with the set aside right now for potential TIF funds. So my recommendation is that we go forward with doing the 6 schools that we actually have capital for and have need for. Let's do an RFP or an intent to bid this summer and get this going before, or as the beginning of school is starting. We have kids in need of money to push there. So.
How are you going to pick the 6, if there's 10 schools that need it, how are you going to pick the 6 schools until we know what's going to happen with the TIF money?
Well, Mr. Leonard, I feel like at that point, we really need to rely on our school district to let us know. School grades are coming in now, so some schools that may be on this list might be doing better than we thought. Some might have slipped. We don't know for sure. I think they've got some preliminary calculations, but the schools most in need, I think, really need to be directed from the school district. They know from our corridors of concern where these kids are and what schools are going to. And I think if we're going to be data driven, we've really got to look at the data and follow that. So, Mr. Leonard, I'll leave that to you.
Sure. As most of you know, we're in the middle of high-stakes testing. Should finish that up in the next, probably within this week, if the weather stays okay. I want to go by memory in the initial listing that we sent. I'll just go with the top 3. And of course, it goes back to pockets of poverty, zip codes of concerns, corridors of concern, global, Sims, and Montclair would probably be the top 3 that we would consider. Some of those are really looking at some pretty significant academic gains so far this year, but still thinking about the whole child, which is what this program should assist us in doing. It's not just about what we do academically, but those services that we're able to provide those students. But those would more than likely be the first 3, and with what Lindsay just said, we would have to narrow that down in that first year and just select 2, and then we would do that year in and year out. That would be my suggestion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Superintendent, and just so we could have this conversation, it was good seeing you this morning. So teacher appreciation, I spent some time in schools in District 3. And one of the partner schools of the county in my district is Oakcrest. And we talked about navigators, community schools, and challenges. And with the overwhelming amount of undocumented children, bilingual children in their school, they said, we need help, and, they like, navigators would be, we need teachers. We need teachers aid. We need bilingual. We lost our Title I funding over at Oakcrest. And so whatever consideration that is for that school, because I was there facing with that problem. Ms. Bonifay and I were dear friends, and the new principal is great friends, but I firsthand spent hours over there and saw the challenges of that school, particularly with those students that we're not getting the money out of Tallahassee. And it is an unmet need on you, a burden on you and taxpayers. They can't get Title I dollars. They can't afford to get the bilingual teachers. And they got to admit those students over at Oakcrest, and they are to the highest degree frustrated and trying to do the very best they can. And so I asked them, I said, put me on a map. What would you want? If you were sitting on the Children's Trust, what would you want? You want a community school? And they said, we need help because we're missing all this money. We got to feed them. We got to do all these things. We're missing money. So I just want to put that, I'm going to follow your lead on it, Keith. But I know that is a challenge for them. They can't get through the day. I mean, with the challenges that they're having over at Oakcrest. And I know that it's a high need. And so
You are absolutely correct. I will tell you, they are on that list of 10 that we provided Ms. Cannon and the staff a couple of weeks back. I was at Global Academy yesterday, and there was a student that just arrived 2 months ago that spoke 0 English. Mm-hmm. 0. And he did at least tell me good morning. So we've made headway there. But yes, sir, Oakcrest is another one.
And they're doing a great job, Kid. I mean, we have the tennis for everyone over there that we're doing. And we're doing the partnership in the school. But many of those undocumented young children, actually their parents can't work. I mean, it's a challenge just to get them meals at the end of school. And there is a barrier disconnect with even in our after-school program, we're having to try to figure out people who can become bilingual and to hire people. So, I mean, to me, that's a major, major challenge. I mean, we're not talking 5 or 10, we're talking hundreds of undocumented children in your schools. So anyway, so you have, I don't know what that model is, if it's community schools and navigators, but I know that they're having a little bit of a challenge, and there are some, a few at Global Learning Academy too, as well. And so just whenever we decide to go out for this, I hope that, you know, we are taking that into consideration. And for me, it's great for us to talk about it, but let's make sure that there's conversation with the direct providers of those principals and those teachers to get them, for us to not think what they need, for us to actually recognize what they need. And Keith, I was unaware of it until I went over there to sponsor last week. I really was unaware that the problem was so massive in those schools. So anyway, just wanted to just put that out in a public forum with you, Keith.
Madam Chair, I have a question for Ms. Cannon. In a perfect world, how would you roll this out to school by school, year by year, two the first year, two the...
Well, we can't commit past what we're voted in for, so we're really looking at 5 years. I think that 2 is going to be a heavy lift. I've done 2 community partnership schools myself in the same year, and 2.5 hours apart. That was a lift. I think if you have solidified partners that are going forward with this, that will work together, and our community is really poised to work together. A lot of our nonprofits already do that very well. So my recommendation would be, if we're going to tackle the most schools we would need to do 2 a year, and then keep going forward in that way. And then hopefully with the dividends that we make, we'll be voted back in. We'll be able to continue this long term. There may be opportunities for legislative dollars or other things like that come this way, but we won't know till we get in there and we start showing what our partners can do in collaboration with the school district. So that would be my recommendation. The other part of this too, to answer one of the things that Commissioner May said, is part of this process is not just going in and saying, this is what we think you need. We know access to health care is definitely a barrier, and dental and eye, we know that. Those are all kind of things that we would like to do as a board, but there's got to be conversation with the principal, with the staff, with the parents, and with the local community to advise them of where to start. So, and where to start infusing the funds. It may be in one area that we desperately need after-school services or tutoring. We desperately need parent engagement opportunities to spend time with our kids. We desperately need safe place to play, things like that. There's going to be different things for each school. And so to go in and that's why this is a framework of different opportunities that make sense for each school. So that's going to be upon the providers to do some of that legwork in collaboration with that principal to find out what those things are, make a plan, and start moving forward.
Any other discussion on that topic? I just wanted to add, I know we were talking about bilingual kids, and I was, of course, at WISE today, and I was so encouraged because they had one of the Spanish-speaking kids singing a song in Spanish. And so when I think a whole child, like that's something small, but that's inclusive to that parent and that child and makes them feel a part of that school. It also helps engage. So that's just an example of what they're doing over there to help include everybody. So I just love that.
So I'll tell you, I was at Oak Crest, and 2 young Hispanic girls came and sang a song, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of the reason I'm advocating for them today, because it kind of touched our heart.
And that did for me today, just to
just
see
great.
that inclusiveness and them feeling a part of the school, and like just having that spotlight, like that's important, you know?
Yeah, just the culture, the food, the singing, all those things, to me, when you have that school that diverse, I mean, our kids are growing, no matter what walk of life. If they're coming from all different neighborhoods, all different backgrounds, our kids are already going, and if we can embrace that,
Yeah.
that's really going to be a blessing for them, because that is, I mean, you know, quite frankly, if you have inner city kids who can be bilingual, you know, on both sides, I mean, how much more marketable are they? I mean, you can't pay for that.
I agree.
In the business that I'm in, everybody needs to be bilingual.
I agree. So thank you, Lindsay. And now I understand we have some exciting news to share about the Director of Programs and Performance position. Oh, we need to make a motion on that?
Approve going forward with that model.
Okay, so it wasn't on my thing.
I make a motion that we go forward with the whole child model.
Thank you.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to move forward with the whole child model.
And Tori, I do have one other thing I'd like to add to that report as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So out of school time, end of year, so I think you all are aware that we ended those February 20, was it 29th? Yeah, it's a leap year. 29th, started a fresh year, March 1st. So Rick and I, and mainly Rick, has been staring at a computer screen and really trying to solidify the end of the year data, if you will, that's in our system. That would make sense for all of our providers, but also give us the opportunity to really understand how they've moved the needle. One of the things that we are finding is, I believe only one of our out-of-school time providers does not have an academic measure tied to end-of-the-year testing. So we do not feel comfortable going forward with, I mean, we can make up a report if you want us to, but we're going to need to delay some of that to the end of the school year. It's not necessarily our provider's fault on that end. We have an off-cycle contract from March to February. When everyone wrote these grants, they wrote them for a school year. So end of the year, PM3, testing are all there. So we will have that. What we're probably not going to get that till mid to end of June. So we're already poised. Rick and I have talked about this. We're ready to move forward. As soon as we get that data, we can plug it in fairly quickly and produce a report, but really give us some real data on, did this program move the needle academically for some of our kids? What does attendance look like? What does discipline look like? What are their parents saying about the services they've received? That real qualitative part that we're all wanting to see. But we need to have the end of the year metrics to do it. So I don't want anyone to feel like I know we're getting chastised for harboring that stuff back. We're not. It's there, but it needs to be real. And it needs to be a report that we can actually say, this is working and this is not, or this needs help, or, we need to look at it in a data-driven way. And we cannot do that right now because we're missing a bunch of data. Not anyone's fault. They just haven't got here yet. It's next week.
Lindsay, how will we, tie that together going forward? I can understand what you're saying, that we've got an end-of-year cycle that's ending before the school year, which is when those metrics come out. Is there a way to rectify that going forward so that we can not be in the same situation a year from now?
Yeah, well, we've talked about that. I mean, I think the way that you could do it is issue a shorter term. I mean, we've already got ours for the next year. We could look at extending it till June, end of June, essentially, and then restarting that third year, starting July 1. So it would be, I guess, an amendment, right, Meredith, like of an extension. It wouldn't change the money. It would just change the terms of that particular contract, right? Because they would. Yeah, use that. That's what I was. Yes, Tammy. What Tammy was saying is we would move money from year 3 into year 2 as part of that amendment to get us to June. I would prefer a better cycle that matches. There will be some things we need to do in SAMUS to make sure that works and but gives us our data. But yes, that off cycle, it didn't really match what the proposals were around that. But that's okay. I mean, that's part of. We've got the money out. These kids are being served, and there is data. We just need them to take the test so we can get it.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
So now on to the director position.
Yes. So
Do we need a motion to make that adjustment, or where do we go from here in trying to get those to correlate better?
well, if we want to change contract parameters for next year, we probably would need to make a motion and a vote on that.
I think that sounds kind of like an administrative nightmare. Would it be?
To change
Yeah,
the
to change all the
dates.
dates and everything. I mean, I think if you just, can we not just put a press release out and saying, or whatever we need to do. The contracts ended on February the 29th, 2024. We are waiting until the end of the school year, June 1st, and then we will evaluate, and then we will have a full report by the middle of the summer as to whether the OST programs succeeded, or how they succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely put that out there. I think what Dr. Northrup's talking about is extending those at a later time. And maybe that's what we do when we start looking at renewal. Instead of renewal, we'll work together to figure out how we extend. As long as they're performing, I mean, I think that we can look at that, and we measure that monthly. And we could probably extend at that time.
I just
But
thought,
yeah.
excuse me, I thought you meant go through every contract and change every single date, and I was like,
No,
that's a lot of work.
not today, not today. But we can do that as we get closer so that we can match up the end of the year with the data. But yes, that's definitely something that we need, that we all need to be aware of. There's a reason for that. We literally, the kids have not taken their testing yet. And it was funny when we went through it, we were literally flipping through every Exhibit B, and we're like, academically tied, which is exciting too, because I think that there's been some confusion that our out-of-school time providers are not trying to tackle academics, and they are. And it's very clearly written, and there is action towards that. So now we need to see, okay, what did it look like for the first year? So,
I'm just knowing that we are being scrutinized appropriately by
Sure.
the public, with this recognizing we are stewarding public tax funds here with this, but that we'd be proactive in regards to the messaging, as Stephanie has mentioned here, that we're not trying to do anything covert or anything else, but in order to get those metrics out and get the data from them to evaluate these programs, and to do that in fairness and transparency, et cetera. Here is our plan. Here's what's going to take place. Here's why that data has not yet, even though the contracts have already expired, we don't yet, in fairness to those providers, have the matrix and the data yet to evaluate them
Yeah.
towards the success that we feel pretty certain is going to be there. We just
Yeah.
want to be proactive in that messaging.
yes, we can definitely do that. That's not a problem.
Thank you. So do you want to talk about the Director of Programs and Performance?
So I'm very excited about this. So we have offered, and she has accepted, Miss Deborah Ray. She is currently the principal at Pine Forest High School. We're very excited to have her data brain around that. Mr. Leonard has not disowned me yet for this one. No, but she comes with very high regard from Mr. Williams and Mr. Leonard as well. The one thing that makes her very unique is that she is a totally different skill set than the rest of us do on this team. And so we really feel like the way that she thinks and understands education, programming, moving kids to the next level is going to really enrich our team. So we're excited to have her on. She is finishing out the school year. We'll take a short vacation, and then will be with us on June 25th. So we'll be excited to have her on our team.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Ms. Abrams, to discuss the employee benefits section selection for June 24th to May 25th.
Okay, thank
I
you.
mean, 2025, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. We met as the Personnel Committee, and this year is the first year we actually received a second set of quotes for our health insurance. Previously, when I went out and asked for them, we've been told we are too small. But this year, we did get a quote from both Florida Blue and United. Just as a reminder, we've been with Florida Blue since June of 2022. But United came in with a monthly, it's about $360 a month lower quote for the employees. So we voted, everything else is pretty much the same, deductibles, everything else runs pretty close. So we are recommending that we change from Florida Blue to United Healthcare. And then as a little extra thing, United offers life insurance that we can get for each employee. And even adding the life insurance in would be $50,000 for an employee. We're still saving $3,100 a year. So that is our recommendation, to do those two.
make a motion to approve that recommendation.
A second.
Any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The recommendation for Resolution 2024-02, changing the employee benefits from Florida Blue to United Healthcare for health and life insurance. Yeah, I was saying, I was just reading out the resolution. That's what we voted to approve. The next agenda item is a couple of program changes. Lindsay, would you like to speak to those?
There we go. We can start with the Pensacola Mess Hall. As part of this end of the year, like looking at data, working with our providers, going out, one of the things that we are finding is because all of the providers wrote competitive applications around a variety of different programming. So we have traditional programming, which would be your 2:30 to 5:30, after school type of programming. We have programming that is specialized and 1 or 2 days a week. We have programming that's serving on the weekends. And then we have overlay services. And so Pensacola Mess Hall is actually one of those overlay type of services that goes into childcare type settings and does STEM activities for around roughly an hour and a half. They have been asked to come to other places to serve. They originally had a relationship with another nonprofit that did not work out for them to come in and do that, so they have time. They have asked to widen the scope of who they can serve in their contract to include the YMCA at Vickery, Global Learning Academy, Greater Little Rock Baptist Church, area housing, and then also switching that age from where they had it listed as grades 3 to 5 to switching it more to an age range, because one of the things that they were finding is that kids were being held back, but they actually were older and were able to participate. Some of the things that they do require dexterity, and those kids would be able to participate. So they would like to change it from just 3rd to 5th grade to 8 to 12-year-olds to encompass more children at these sites.
Question, Madam Chair and Ms. Cannon. Has there been any update regarding, I know when we had discussed this in committee previously, the Area Housing Commission was being looked at as a possible site. Has there been any update or?
I have not gotten any update, other than I know they were having active conversations. She's continuing to pursue it very actively. And no changes to the budget, just literally the sites that they can serve.
Any other questions? So the program committee recommends approval of the scope of work changes as presented by the Mess Hall. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So that motion passes. Then we have the scope of work for Pensacola Little Theater.
Yes, so Little Theater was a little bit different than Mess Hall. They had very targeted opportunity at Oakcrest. They are still very active with Oakcrest, which is what we were just talking about. As a school that's needing some support, they're continuing to work with them. However, they have capacity for more children that they can serve. No budget changes again. Want to be able to serve more kids. They're getting anywhere. Sid had presented at our program committee, I believe he said around 18 to 20 kids per session, which is still a lot of children, but that leaves them about 10 slots that they would like to open up. So Oakcrest would, of course, be their priority population, but they would like to open up those 10 slots to other children that meet the parameters that we have for underserved youth in our community. And so that's what this proposal is to open it up.
So the program committee recommends approval of the scope of work changes presented by the Pensacola Little Theater. Can I get a motion?
That's so moved.
Second?
Discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So that passes. So the next up is sole source. So we do have two people that would like to speak on the sole source application. Ms. Green and Ms. Harrison. You both do have 3 minutes each. Ms. Alma, would you please time for me? Thank you.
Turn that speaker on. Hit the button.
Got it. That's better. I'm Leah Harrison. I am the executive director at Children's Home Society. And I want to read this. You guys have a lot of letters, support letters in your packet. I hope you guys were able to read some of them. This one was not included. I wanted to share this real quick. It is from Principal Sanders at O.J. Sims. She says, I wanted to reach out to you about Terry Ware. Mr. Ware has served our school navigator at O.J. Sims for the last 2 years. I cannot even begin to express how valuable he has been to our school. He works so well with our staff and students and is definitely part of our school family. He knows the students and provides them with many basic needs, school supplies, encouragement. Our school is in turnaround after receiving 2 consecutive F school grades and was broken in many ways. Terry has been a vital player in the shift in our school culture and academic progression. Many students seek him out on a regular basis. I understand the funding changes and that you are searching for other means to fund school navigators. If that's accomplished, I would like to respectfully request Terry Ware remain at O.J. Sims. And this is just one principal. This is just one person, and this is just one school. But this really shows the impact that these navigators have. We have some of our navigators with us today. And on top of the impact that we can talk about, I got to sit in a room with these people recently. These people are incredible. And their largest concern is, we have been with these students and these families for 2 years, 3 years. We have built trust with them. They trust us. We do not want to not be there for them anymore. And just, I don't know how much time I have left, but I do want to share, just a little history. The past 5 years, we have a lot of data from this, and this really, the Navigator program was born out of the Community Partnership School model. The district came to CHS and said, okay, $400,000 to $450,000, that's a heavy lift for a community partnership school, but if there was one position you could have, what would it be? And this is it. It's the navigator position. And I know you have data and you have lots of information and what we submitted. We're here to answer any questions. And this ask is directly because we did have a 3-year contract with the school district, and they were ESSER dollars. It was COVID funding. And that funding's not there anymore. The district is such a great partner, and they are committed to funding our navigators in our 3 community partnership schools, as well as a navigator on the north end. So thank you for letting me share. I'm going to pass it over to Lauren.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lauren Green. I am a navigator at Global Learning Academy, and I've been there for 2 years. And I really wanted to open myself up for questions, and I didn't have anything quite as prepared as Leah did, but you do feel a part of the school. You know, you do make relationships with the children, and I feel like that, given the constraints that the schools are under for grades, RTI, there's no one that can stand in the gap that we stand in. We've received letters from teachers, we've received letters from parents and our principals, and I think especially at a high-need school like Global, it's not that I'm doing rocket science, it's not that I'm doing anything that no one else could do, I'm doing something that no one else has time to do. Based on the constraints that the county puts, the state puts in terms of grades and efficacy with instruction. I'm a non-instructional personnel. My funding has got to come from somewhere else. It cannot come from Title I funds. My principal would love to fund me with Title I funds. She can't. So that funding has got to come somewhere else. But we play an integral part, that whole Maslow's hierarchy. If a child's basic needs aren't met, you can't talk about academic performance when they come to school without underwear and socks, and they're couch surfing and they never know where they're going to be the next night. we stand in the gap of filling that Maslow's hierarchy so that that child can reach that academic performance that we so want. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have the program committee recommends approval of the Children's Home Society Sole Source Grant application as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Lauren, I just want to thank you for what you're doing over at Global. It's an important school, and right down from some of the work we do, you guys are doing a great job.
No discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So the sole source grant is approved. And now we have 4 items brought forward from the policy committee. Lindsay,
Thank you all.
would you like to run through those? And we
I
can
know.
vote
I was
individually.
like, I'm sorry, I heard.
Madam Chair, can I make one comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to say I'm proud to be part of the trust board for being able to fund the Navigator program, and thank you for all you're doing. So I know we've had some negative press lately about funding this, but I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be on this board. So congratulations and thank you for all you're doing.
Yes. I agree. I was reading some of the letters, and they are very touching. The letters in here, the letters are amazing.
Are we ready to move?
We're ready.
Okay,
So
okay.
you're going to run through them, and then we're going to
Listen,
vote
we've
one by one?
kept these meetings to like an hour. I'm just kidding. So we have several policy updates that we vetted through our our policy committee. They are ones that either did not exist or were part of our contracts that did not match what our policy manual actually had. So the first one, of course, is around, as we have listed, is anti-nepotism. We actually put that into our year 2 contracts with our OST providers. However, we did not have a policy related to that. So this policy is here to update and match what we have in our current contracts and what will be in our contracts going forward. So if there's any questions about that, I'll be glad to answer.
Do you want to go through all 4 and let's go one by one, or how do you want?
It's up to you guys, whatever you'd like to do.
So I would like to, a motion, the recommendation is the Policy and Bylaws Committee recommends approval of Resolution 2024-03 as recommended by the Executive Director.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Cell phone policy?
Okay. Cell phone policy. So we did get our cell phones. We have updated a policy to reflect how those are to be used. We did have one change also. It was really great from our policy committee to talk about this and compare. Ms. Kane gave us some really great information that we've added in here too that would allow us to, of course, have access to those phones at all times should someone leave or something happen. So this is a policy that updates how those phones are to be used. And of course, the passwords, coding, all that stuff. So we have full access for public.
The Policy and Bylaws Committee recommends approval of Resolution 2024-04 as recommended by the Executive Director. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. And then funding policy procedures?
This is another resolution, if you look to page 2, that has information that was added into our contracts related to overtime pay, related to late penalties for submitting late requests for reimbursement, reimbursement made for services outside the scope of work, and then, of course, written inventory of supplies, and then, sorry, I skipped one part, pardon me. Allocated the trust provider for a specific provider be made to reduce in the event that ECT determines that the provider will not spend the entire amount allocated. And then, of course, a written inventory of supplies, and then, and no reimbursement shall be issued if the provider's quarterly report is past due. So again, all elements that are in our contracts that we needed our policies to reflect as well.
The Policy and Bylaws Committee recommends approval of Resolution 2024-05 as recommended by the Executive Director. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, that passes. And then funding eligibility.
This is another update to our policies that reflect things that are in our contracts that are not currently in our policies related to, anti-nepotism, inventory, expiration of term upon other grounds related to inventory supplies like computers and things like that. Those need to come back to us. We also have information related to implementing a sustainability plan for providers. Those were part of their contracts as well, that they'll complete information in SAMIS, that they will provide ECT with information related to its total agency budget and percentage of its overall agency budget funded by ECT. Those are some questions that we have and that we need to make sure are very crystal clear related to how we work and how we're funding. Understanding that multiple doses cannot occur on the same calendar date. I think you guys have heard that loud and clear for a very long time. Utilizing the program enrollment form that we have for all our participants, providing ECT with prior attendance rosters upon request, utilizing ECT transportation forms. Those are really important to back up mileage and gas receipts, maintaining indoor and outdoor areas free of debris and clutter, supervise all entrances for security. It's another whole part of that we really need to look at for our providers. Also looking at complying with all applicable federal, state, and local laws in effect at the time of the execution of the agreement as amended to affirm that it has not been suspended or debarred from the receipt of federal, state, or local funding, making sure they have a fire certificate and they're following our local safety codes within their buildings, and then complying with the ADA Act as well.
Thank you. So the Policy and Bylaws Committee recommends approval of Resolution 2024-06 as recommended by the Executive Director. May I get a motion?
So move.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that passes.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
You second, who second? You second. Yes, thank you. And now we have the Executive Director's report.
Tired of hearing from me already?
Of course not.
It's been waiting.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we were going to do it at the end. Mr. Bennett, would you like to come? Ms. Alma, will you please start the 3-minute timer? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was asking Ms. Alma, you have 3 minutes. I was asking her to please start the timer.
Okay.
Thank
I have
you.
3 minutes. I'll try to put 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag. Good afternoon, and thank you all for allowing me to come before you today. We have a state of emergency here in Escambia County. In the last 10 years, we have had 272 young black men murdered. The youngest baby was 18 months old when a guy named Pine Straw shot through a kitchen window at Pensacola Village. In the last 45 days, we have had 6 murders. 2 of those young men will never be able to finish school because they was 15 years old. Well, 19-year-old lady gave a 14-year-old boy a gun and told him to go and kill somebody. A week after the ambush where the 3 people was murdered, sitting in a car, we had another shooting. A young man was dropped off, going to pick up a car. He was killed. Last weekend, a lady on Incondencia and I Street was shot in the head. Before I came here today, my phone would not quit ringing. 3 people just was shot at Diego Circle today. I'm not blaming anybody on this council. Please understand, I'm a former police officer, took my training in Winter Haven, Florida, former county deputy, Vietnam veteran. I've been around the world, and what I see happening in my hometown is unacceptable. You all have allocated tens of thousands of dollars for after-school programs. And I'm not saying they was not worthy of receiving that funding, but we must, as citizens of Escambia County, address the violence that's going on. People don't have night church no more. Just seen a report last weekend. Many of the churches is considering having uniformed deputies at their 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock service. We cannot ignore the violence that's going on in Escambia County. I was invited on a national talk show program last Wednesday, and they asked me, say, Ellison, what is the leadership doing about the violence? I told them that was a broad umbrella. Are you talking about leadership, elected officials? Are you talking about law enforcement? You're talking about ministers, sororities, fraternities, teachers, lawyers, doctors, or lay people like myself? I'm so proud to be a board member of the National Movement for Civil and Human Rights. 10 of those people on that board either worked along with Dr. King or marched with him. Dr. Ruby Moon out of Rockville, Maryland, is our chairman. She is a chaplain at Howard University. We have a board member in 18 of the states out of the 50. They have assigned my duties the whole state of Florida. My phone will not quit ringing. We have a state of emergency right here in our hometown. We can no longer ignore it because we don't know where these gangs of evil people will strike next. Just downtown here in Pensacola, a couple of days ago, a nightclub showed up and started shooting. We have a problem. I'm willing to talk to anyone. I don't have the solution. I pray every morning that this nonsense will stop. Our school district have money that they have allocated toward mentoring our young people. We must address it because we don't know who is next. Yes, a lot of violence happened in District 3, and that's not to single out Commissioner May because he's here. But we got violence all over Escambia County.
I'm sorry, that's time.
Just 2 years ago, at a Little League football game, a young man was killed at a concession stand. At Booker T. Washington High School, a year ago, fight broke out, people started shooting. It is not going to end if we, as citizens of this county, do not address the violence. So I'm pleading with you, allocate money for gun violence. It is surely needed. I would answer any questions if anyone have one.
No, Ellison, thank you. And so let me just say, Ellison, I spent all day Saturday at First Baptist in Warrenton burying 2 young people that played ball for me, who were young men. And I've probably been at 80% of the shootings on the scene. I just left Montclair before I came here, and I'm probably going to go back to Montclair when I leave here. And so I know that as a county commissioner, as a youth sports, we're doing what we can but I know we can do more, and I agree with you. I heard exactly what was said at the NAACP banquet. There needs to be more resources. I mean, it's not a pandemic, but it's certainly an epidemic when you lose that many lives, and I don't think people are aware of how many lives we've lost. I'll tell you, I was with the mayor on yesterday. We spent some time on homelessness and poverty, and Alex is here, and Alex will tell you one of the number one things I talked about was last weekend, Saturday, when I left First Baptist in Warrenton. I said it's going to be multiple shootings because that's what the street committee had reported. And lo and behold, Sunday 2, Sunday night 1, 3 today. It is an issue, it is a problem. But I can just tell you for me, I mean, I'm only one person. You know, I will be supportive of anybody that brings a program that's going to address the gun violence that's happening in our community. I mean, you know, you got to vote with me also. I heard you loud and clear.
Thank
if
you.
I had the solution, I was there in Gonzales Court. I was there on Gulf Beach Highway. I was there. Anytime there was a shooting, we're there. And, you know, unfortunately, not many leads. Snitches end up in ditches. You know, I don't tell until it happens to me. We have to engage with law enforcement. We was just with the sheriff's office on Friday, working with Chip Simmons about the heroic act in Inglewood at Boys and Girls Club when officers were attacked. We have to change that culture. But I do appreciate your leadership and your national leadership, and
Thank you.
I do appreciate what you and NAACP are doing. It's a crisis. I was down in Miami 3-4 weeks ago looking at black-on-black crime and what they're doing and some of the programs, and I can just tell you, I know that you've been to the Black Leaders Summit in Miami as well on crime. I mean, those are some of the things that I'm certainly going to talk to our staff about, and I hope that some organization will come forward. I get it. There's not a lot of programs that's happening for young, at-risk black boys in Escambia County. We're doing a lot for young kids. You have my support, Allison, and I apologize for, you know, having to run out today, but I needed to get to this meeting, but certainly I will be back in Montclair tonight.
And let me say this, I've been told by a lot of people, Ellison, don't call it black on black crime because it doesn't sound good. I talked to mothers from a group entitled Pain. These are mothers who have lost children to violence. They're not concerned with the language in which we are addressing this problem. They want something done. Thank you all for listening.
I want to say this, thank you also, Mr. Bennett, for what you're doing, and just letting you know from my standpoint, we're concentrating on conflict resolution and trying to get that in our schools at an elementary level, and then hopefully in the future we can eradicate some of this violence. But thank you for bringing attention to it, and just to let you know, we're trying to work on conflict resolution as well with our
Thank you.
schools. Mhm.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, Ellison, I know sometimes we're on the opposite end of deliverables, but I want to thank you for your leadership. No one's standing up, and I know at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm out there, you're out there. So you're just not somebody on the national level, but you're actually doing the work. So I think that you're going to find support in this community for what you're doing. So I appreciate you being on, you and Cindy Martin. Every time I've gone to a shooting or a gun violence when the families are suffering, I've seen you there. So you're just not talking, you're walking the walk, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ms. Cannon?
Okay. He's taller than me. This doesn't seem quite as important based on part of the conversation we just had, but do want to let you all know what I've been up to and what our team's been up to. I don't know how to make it show. Can you guys see it? You can see it, okay. So I just had a listing of our program and personnel committees, policy, finance, and executive committee. I think that those are flowing really nicely to have those monthly. I know that it takes time away, but I appreciate you all engaging in that so we can keep up with the things that are happening. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is what we've been doing on the operational side. So this says 14, but as of today, I've completed 15 of those out of school time after school visits. I have to tell you, that's been really impactful. It's one thing to read it on paper. It's quite another to show up there and actually see how they're interacting with our kids, to see what the kids are getting from it. It's been very impactful for me. There's a lot of really great work happening in our community and with our providers. They're really stepping up to the challenge. And some of them didn't anticipate a lot of the challenges that were there. So they're adjusting and working through that. We talked a little bit about the end of the year data being entered into SAMUS and that we're looking at that reporting structure. So we do have a reporting structure for that, just to let you know. We just have not had the test yet. So as we get that, it's going to be easy for us to plug in and work. We've already sent it to our providers to be ready to be able to provide that information our way. This past month, we've also hosted, we started with that out of school time collaborative. We did that as well with our out of school time and our mental health contracted entities as well. It's been really great. One of the things that they really want is a meet and greet. They do not know what each other are doing or even know who each other are in most instances. Some of them have connected, some have not. So we're working on scheduling that for the end of May. Megan over at Pensacola Mess Hall was like, I will have it at my place. You guys come. So really looking at that blended approach between our out of school time and mental health, because they serve very differently, but they're serving a lot of those same populations. So there needs to be some connectivity with them. So if they're full and someone is not, they know who to refer to, and vice versa. We also hosted that after, and I have how many participated, I didn't update this. I think there was about 30 participants in this. We had After School Inc. come, and they actually did a training on program quality, self-assessment, and improvement. Some of this was not new for some of our providers, and then others were saying, I've heard it before, but you brought an element to me I had not thought of before, and that we might be doing this, but we don't have it in policy and procedure, or we're not measuring that. So it was a really great place for them to come, and it was a combination of mental health as well as those pure out-of-school time providers as well. We've talked about our computer lab. You guys have come in and you've had meetings at our boardroom at our new facility, but the computer lab has been set up and is ready to go. We're letting providers know that is available to them, as well as our boardroom if they need to utilize that. Some of them are working in the community and need space, and so that's available to the public for those meetings. We told them just to call Miss Alma and schedule that. And then on communications and outreach, I had on here our resource guide, so you guys all got a bag today of things that we've been handing out. Those are for you to keep or for you to hand to someone in need, but we have our resource guide loaded onto our website. It's actually in our email signatures as well, and we're distributing those hard copies out. What's been really interesting about that is at these site visits that we've gone to, they have said, we are so glad for this resource guide, and they like fight over it and like, this is a staff copy and don't hand it out. So it's been more beneficial to, or not more beneficial, it's been just as beneficial to providers as well as it has been to the general community to help resource that. The Touch a Truck event actually occurred at Echo Life Church. Michael was our representative at that. There was around 250 people that attended that, and there were 10 community partners and 12 trucks. I believe FP&L was there. I know the fire department was there. There's a variety of fun trucks for kids to participate in. It was a really successful event. They actually were able to do some screenings there and get kids rolled into services from that event, which was the whole purpose. The other update also from that same group, Art Gateway is working through this. They also hosted, I think it was April 19th, a ADOS training or screening, which is an autistic screening. And they said that they actually have 28 children booked now for screening for that. That's a large amount of kids, respectively. It doesn't sound like it, but it is. I'm sure Dr. Northrup can tell you that. They're booked out through August 16th for those screenings. So it's pretty significant turnaround from that event. We're scheduled for a National Night Out. That's been secured, and that's going to be over near the Vickery Center. It's going to be a great night, so we have some fun handouts for people. If you guys want to come and be there, we would love for y'all to be there as well. We're working on our updated newsletter. Michael's been doing a great job with that. It'll come out on the 21st. And then also we want to recognize that May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. That's one of those things that we definitely want to lean into and support as a board and as a staff. We're funding those that are standing in the gap. They may not be providing a lot of that traditional mental health, but they might be some of the first people that identify that there is a mental health issue, and that's what we're there to do with our mental health providers. So you'll be seeing some recognition on that as well. The last thing I don't have on the slide, but Tammy reminded me of, is you all should have gotten your ethics email the form that you have to sign off every year. Is it due by June 30th? June 30th. So if you did not get that, you need to let us know, and we will make sure you get the link to fill that out. It's all online. So, any questions?
I didn't, so could you?
Yes. Ms. Alma, can you write down Tori for
Please.
me? Okay.
Madam Chair.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to thank you for the work you're doing, because every resolution we pass tonight is because of you digging into things that we need to do better. And also for communicating with this board, and me in particular, that we know what's going on, and we understand the why behind something we're doing, and it's made a difference, and that's maybe why our meetings have gotten a little bit boring, which is good.
I thought it was because of me.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you very much. You know, these resolutions tonight, I was thinking about that, and how smoothly it's going, and the things that we're doing is because we're very much informed. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I second. Great job, Lindsay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree with that as well. I was thinking the same thing, David, as we were going through those resolutions there, that is all reflective of the group as a whole, being on the steep part of the learning curve and indeed learning. And I think it's going to pay long-term benefits to the trust and, more importantly, to the children we're trying to serve. So thank you very much.
Ms. Meredith, did you have anything to report or any updates?
The only thing I have to add is, as most of you know, the TIF hearing on the exemption was continued at the county's request. They asked us to withdraw and resubmit for that hearing to be held September 5th of 2024. So we're in the process of resubmitting, and that exemption request will be heard on September 5th by the Board of County Commissioners.
Thank you.
Does that postpone the payment as well?
Correct. So as part of our agreeing to the delay, it required that they continue to postpone any payment due until after the hearing is heard, and continue to waive any interest or fees until after the hearing is heard.
Thank you.
I want to add one more thing onto that too as well. So when we're looking at funding going forward, these are things that we have to kind of put on a liability line for ourselves. So when we look at having $4.5 million of unobligated dollars, we've just approved a Navigator contract that's for 1.2 for the first year. So we're looking at that. I mean, all of our contracts are annual anyway, depending on funding. But we want to be thinking about that as we're moving forward too. And I'll work with Tammy to really get a good financial picture of, especially as we go into the contracting process there, of what that looks like. But we do have to set aside approximately $2.5 million to be safe, that we can't allocate out until we have some resolution of this.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the board or staff? If not, we are adjourning at 6:38 p.m. Thank you. Ms. Allen.